Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
I have to pretend like I just saw everyone for the first time as if we weren't just on Minecraft 5 minutes ago.
Whoa, crazy running into you guys here.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of you in ages, you know?
Totally didn't expect to see you today.
God, it's like I don't even know what I did. Like I just clicked a random voice channel and hoped to find people.
You may be
Alrighty.
wondering why I gathered you here today.
I could say that, but that's so plain and simple.
I've gathered you here to discuss homosexuality.
Yes, and we need more of it. We need exactly 3 more tablespoons of it.
3 more tablespoons, now you're going crazy.
All right, I'm going to let everybody else introduce themselves because this is actually everyone's first time being in an episode here. I will start with Yix.
Oh, I was not expecting this. Hello. I am Jax. I don't know if there's
And what
anything
makes
else.
you queer?
I am gender fluid and bisexual and poly.
Leo?
What's up? I'm Leo. Fucking idiot VTuber child.
What makes you queer?
I mean, just look at me.
Okay.
That's the answer.
But yeah, more specifically, I'm trans mask and bi. Yeah. So.
And finally, my very special guest, Osmosis Jones himself.
Yes.
What makes you queer?
So I am V, and I am non-binary, and I identify as gay. And yeah.
Yeah. So we are all brought together today for celebrating Pride Month
Hey.
in the best way that we can, which is that one dreaded question that we're all going to get out of the way. How did you find out? So whoever wants to start, go right on ahead, because I don't know when I'm going to use my story for. Actually, I might use my story for this session just because I think it's funnier.
I could go, I guess.
Okay.
So I think that when I actually started questioning my gender, it was kind of funny. I was in a role-playing forum, and my username was vaguely masculine. It was Bug Prince. So the people I RP'd with just assumed I was a guy and started calling me he, and I was like, huh. Normally I would correct them and say I'm a girl, but this actually feels kind of nice. Oh yeah, and then I discovered anime femboys, and it just all clicked. I was like, yeah, that's what I want to be.
Anime being I feel like anime is such a gate to queerness in general, which is funny because when you actually look at anime, some of it is trying super hard to be so straight.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
But yet, to many of us, it's the queerest thing on the planet.
Absolutely.
I was gonna jump right off of that. My upbringing was not as wholesome, but I will say the one turning point to what made me realize I was queer, pansexual and whatnot, was because I met a man so attractive that it pissed me off. I can't say his name, but we'll call him Dylan. That's the only name I could come up with at the top of my head. But it was everyone talking about how attractive this guy was. There's a bunch of girls just talking about him. And I was just like, come on. I should probably, because I heard he was in the theater club. So I was imagining in my head, I was like, okay, he's probably some very rich, uptight kid that's yeah, I'm the best actor the world's ever seen, whatever. So I was called into a meeting because he was dropping out as the lead from the play and they were going to give it to me. because I was one of the other tenors in choir, and I was like, what? And I was given a role to theater, and I got to meet him because he needed to like tell me some things. And I remember looking at him, and I was just like, oh my god, he's so hot. What? I was so distraught by this. And I was angry. Like, I went home really pissed off. And like, my parents were like, what is up with you? Because I was mad. Like, I was like throwing things to the side, kind of mad. And I was obviously teenagers. So I was like, nothing's wrong. And then there's a slam my door. And I think I had like not a panic attack, but like a kind of like a mini meltdown because like I messaged like somebody. It was just like, I find a dude attractive. What's wrong with you? What's gonna happen? And he was just like, sounds like you're gay. And I was like, well, that can't be it either, because I still very much like find feminine people attractive. So that can't be it. And then after a lot of Googling, I found Pan and was like, I'm gonna settle with this. And my own gender was not a secret because I was like, I've always hated masculine things anyway. Men, they piss you off.
And live with them. And sometimes live without them.
All right, V or Jax, or should I flip a coin?
I mean, I'm down to go.
Okay, go ahead, V.
So basically, I grew up invested in a lot of like content where either the fandom was gay or the characters were gay. And so I wanted to be a little bit more educated. So obviously, I would like Google things, I would search up things. And that's kind of how I discovered what like being non-binary is. And I was like, whoa, that looks really neat. But I don't know what that means. So I did nothing for like years. And then actually I saw Quinn. Like I saw like your pronouns on Twitter or something, and I was like, that's a thing? Back when you used they them, like only they them, and I was like, wait a minute, I could do that. And then I did, and it felt nice, and it was great.
Well, pronouns really feel like just putting on a pair of metaphorical shoes and going, these feel amazing.
Yeah.
But they do. I've been sitting in Crocs my whole life, and then I discovered running sneakers, and then I could actually move places.
Hell yeah.
I never thought I would hear a Crocs metaphor for gender, but here we are.
Whatever works, I guess.
Whatever works, you're right.
I guess it's my turn now.
Yeah.
Okay. Realizing I was bi was like the most anticlimactic thing. Because it wasn't like I grew up in the Midwest in the Bible Belt. It's not really something I think about. I didn't know another queer person until like middle school, and he was relentlessly bullied to the point where he ended up having to like take time off of school for like his own mental health and safety. And then when I was in high school, met a handful of other queer people because I like moved schools. And it's like I didn't really think about it much in regards to myself. And then I was playing Dungeons and Dragons with my friends, and I was talking a lot about Jessica Negri because I like saw a few of her cosplays that I really liked. And then like for weeks I didn't stop talking about Jessica Negri, and one of my friends was like, hey, you gay or something? Like, it's cool if you are, but like, you like titties? And I was like, oh shit. Yeah, I think I do. And someone else was like, cool. Do you still like dudes? I was like, yeah, I think I do. I was like, cool. That's called bisexuality. And I was like, cool. Okay. And then the DM's like, roll initiative.
Roll initiative. I landed at 20. All right, you have 2 supermodels. They're both different genders.
They they don't ask you to pay them; they pay you.
Wow.
So that's that on that. Gender, I was always just pretty am what I am. And I ended up settling on gender fluid when I was in university. Because I started going by Jackson more often. And I was like, I really like this. This feels good.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So there's not actually, besides like time, there's actually a reason why I selected this group the way it is. And I didn't realize it until like a few days ago. But before we dance on that part, because that's a whole different side of Pride, let's discuss something that we all are very much a fan of, which is shows. A lot of shows these days have a lot of representation, up to the point where may or may not cause its cancellation under the table. Owl House. And I just wanted to, ask, like, how do you feel shows are handling LGBT representation? It doesn't have to be just, children's shows. It can be pretty much anything. I mean, we have a giant scope of streaming services that are totally not just turning into cable.
Definitely not. They would never.
I think personally, like, a lot of it tends to come off as sort of disingenuous to me. Like, there a lot of shows will like kind of just like have like a gay character as just a way to say like, hey, we have a gay character, rather than making it like a full like character. But I do really like I really enjoyed that like storyline in Owl House, because like it just felt very like cute and natural, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I think media is like slowly making progress in how they handle representation.
But like, I think what I hate the most is when people start like going all crazy about like, oh my god, there's a gay character in a Disney movie, like, and then people are like either like applauding them, like standing ovation shit, or like calling for angry mobs. But then you see the actual representation, and it's like a single like 2-second long shot of just like just background extras, and I'm like, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like that's very predominant with a lot of like Disney's franchises. Like a lot, like it's very much like there's no focus. It's like, here it is, like, and it's this very brief, like 2-second spotlight, and it's like, here it is. This is our quota, okay? So none of you can tweet at us that we're not representing you.
It's because they want to, seem like they're progressive, but also like catering to the like homophobic foreign governments, so they don't get their movies banned there.
That's one of the biggest issues I have, is the whole, like, some countries will flat out not share like episodes, or will change like scripts around so that queer characters are washed out, just because of it's really a tragedy, because you have like, and this is just using a recent example, but you have like cute couples like Luce and Amity from Owl House, and yet like some of their biggest character developments is because they're together. It's because they help each other and they support each other. But a lot of that's cut out, and it's because you have countries like Russia and some other in the Middle East that have huge qualms against it.
Yeah. The funniest thing like that I can remember is the English dub of the original Sailor Moon, where they made Sailor Uranus and Neptune cousins, but barely changed anything in their super romantic interactions. So it's they now it's not only gay but incestuous.
They're like, we can make this better by making them cousins. Oh no, we made it worse. Go back.
We can solve queerness by adding some sweet old Alabama. And it's not even just like Disney. Like another instance is similar to Sailor Moon, but it's Neon Genesis Evangelion. In the Netflix release of it, they changed some of the dialogue so that there's no like gay undertones between Shinji and some other character. I don't know.
Dare they?
Yeah, so it's like these things are being done to wash out clearly gay content. So my question regarding this is stepping away from modern shows, like things that were more prevalent like to us when we were younger. Do you remember any gay representation watching growing up?
I don't remember most of my childhood.
Same.
I barely remember last
fair.
week.
I'm pretty sure that if I had seen any gay representation as a kid, it probably would have stuck with me and I would have remembered it, so I don't think I did.
Honestly, I don't think I would have remembered, because I don't think anything that was on growing up would have been something so overt that I would have noticed.
Yeah, true.
I think it would have been so subtle or so just very subtext that a child's not going to pick up on it anyway.
I remember watching one of my least favorite recurring jokes. I don't know where this is from, but it's from multiple places, but like the kind of gag where it's like, oh, a man's dressed as a woman. That's hilarious. Actually, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, when Cody was dressed as a woman, like I remember like for what? For a pageant, yeah.
Pageant.
That entire thing I was watching, I was just like, he actually looked pretty decent as a woman. And I was like, that's not something to make fun of. It's like, you looked pretty good, and it wasn't until someone found out you were a guy that you were made fun of. Immediately, it became like it was like a joke, and you had like that shitty like laugh tracker playing in the background. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I don't really find this funny. But I knew people who did. Like, I had, not friends, but I knew acquaintances around like my neighborhood that found that kind of stuff hilarious. Like truly just lowball jokes. Like, oh my god, like another one was this one movie where this guy found a hooker and it was just like, yeah, like she was a really good time, and then like the joke is that she was a man the whole time, and he goes, oh no, and the guys laugh at him or whatever. This is more of a college movie.
Right.
Like intended for that kind of like American Pie kind of bullshit. And I remember I didn't really think that was fun either. I was like, you had a good time.
Yeah, it's like, whatever, you know?
Oh my lord. I gotta say, I'm kind of glad that the kids growing up have better representation. I mean, Disney's dropping the ball, but I mean, there's representation everywhere else. Like Netflix, you have Paranorman. No, what is it?
No, the football player.
Paranorman. Yeah, that. Yeah,
okay, that is the right name for him.
He was actually gay.
Yeah, I remember when that movie
theater.
came out.
I saw that in the theater, and I was delighted.
No, what's the Netflix show that I'm trying to think of where there's a trans man?
Not Paranorman.
It was Paranormal Activity.
Paranormal Activity.
It's like it's like Dead End Paranormal Activity.
Oh! I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
God damn it! I watched that show too.
I don't know any of these things. Whenever I'm on Netflix, I just only watch Key and Peele on repeat.
Yeah, but there's actually one where it's a trans man, like leading the
Paranormal
show.
Park.
There you go.
Dead End
Thanks.
Paranormal Park. There you go.
Cool.
It was
Yeah,
so good.
yeah. Part of the representation is that it's a trans man, and his best friend is is an autistic, non-binary person, I believe.
Sick.
It's like I don't definitely autistic. I don't remember.
Yes to this. Said it with your chest.
Yes, no, like that was a big point of like her character was the fact that she was autistic.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you first meet her, she's often like being perceived by other characters as very direct, but also very rude and just kind of like unsettling in the way that some people with autism come across. Because it's like they're not picking up on those social cues, and it's like, and she's like, "I'm autistic," and everyone's like, "Okay, that makes sense," and they kind of adjust to her rather than making her adjust to them. But yeah, it's a really, really good show. And they don't... I don't want to say they don't make a big deal of the main character being trans, but like... I don't know how to put it.
It's more of that it's used for characterization and development rather than just for the sake of being trans.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because I do remember, I haven't watched the show myself, but I do remember that there's one scene where he's specifically talking to his parents in the diner about his identity and the struggles that came with it, and he didn't feel like he had enough support from them.
Yeah.
Which I think that's super important. That's a lot of us deal with that. I mean, some of us have a great relationship with our parents where we can take our identities, and some of us do not.
Yeah.
Bringing up a point that you made earlier about like the differences in the shows that kids nowadays are growing up with, I definitely can see that considering I am younger.
Yeah.
So like all of you are like, oh, when I was younger there would be jokes about like men in dresses, but I didn't get to see it firsthand. I only got to see it as like an afterthought, like, oh yeah, remember when people would make jokes about that, and then I'd be like, oh yeah. Like I did grow up more with modern representation, and I do think that has been very important for people within my age group.
That is great. You'll love to see it, honestly.
Heck yeah.
I can only see that representation, like that progress, just continuing on an upward trend. Might be a little slower, but like it is happening.
Yeah, it's good.
I
personally like I feel like I don't consume like enough media that actually has like that representation, because like whenever like try and look for like, you know, gay movies or something, it's always like, you know, these like emotional, heartfelt like love stories, and that's just not what I'm into.
You know, I was going to bring this up in part 2, but I can bring it up here too. But Lynn and I talked about how one of the problems with media trying to represent, you know, gay people is that it feels like they always need some kind of like tragic elements, or they have to bring up the bullying aspects of it. And
it's always got to be about how hard it is to be queer, and that just it gets like, obviously there's plenty of place for that, but like it gets exhausting
when it's the only story you're ever telling.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's just we've all seen and heard it. We've all seen the dad being disapproving, random strangers staring or just flat out calling you a slur, childhood bullies. We've seen every trope, and it's never really done in a unique way. Like straight romances have like all different kinds of development and tropes, and the gay ones seem to fall back to the same like 3.
Yeah. Like I want to like I just want to see more like, you know, for example, like dumb like comedies just like where maybe the main character is queer or something. Like, and like that's a plot point, but it's it's not all about like the suffering.
I remember a few years back. It was actually the thing that made me get my septum piercing. But a few years back, I wrote a tweet that said, "If I don't get a piercing or a tattoo by the end of this year, I will write the next American Pie movie." And I was gonna write in a queer American Pie movie and see how that plays out. Because I'm like, yeah, we've all seen like college boys try to get laid, but what about like college girls trying to talk to another girl?
Ooh, I would watch that, honestly.
Shit, I mean, maybe. I
Just-
don't know.
just
I don't know what
have-
it takes to write an American Pie movie. It doesn't even have to be that franchise, to be honest. I could just
Yeah.
write it.
I would love to just see like a movie about like disaster lesbians.
Honestly, gay panic, if you will.
Yeah.
All right, shifting forward a little bit. So the reason that the four of us are a group is because we can actually all speak about it a bit. Each one of us has polyamorous experience, or at least identify in that range.
Ooh.
I'm distracted by Kai right now.
Kitty.
He just
apologize.
appeared. It's okay. He just heard
Yes.
polyamory. I'm leaving.
Wow.
Oh wow.
So, well, I don't know where to begin with this. I think I can probably still bounce off like media things, but with media it's a lot harder. There's not really a lot of like polyamory in media,
Yeah.
I'd say.
No.
They always go to that love triangle, and they never, just like realize that hey, you can have both options if everyone's cool with it.
So, off the top of your head, can any of you think of a love triangle that would have just been resolved with polyamory? I have one, but I don't want to take it if it's Jax's.
Not off the top of my head, just because I can't remember things ever.
Yeah, it's like there's the pressure of, hey, can you think of this thing off the top of your head? And I'm like, oh, well, now that you've asked, probably not. It's like I can think of popular, like fandom.
Yeah, now I'm thinking of like
Shipping
OT3s.
wars.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's the immediate thing that comes to mind.
It's fine. You can go in that direction if you want.
Yeah, just any shipping war ever can be resolved.
Yeah, right.
Okay, but I mean, let me say mine, and let me see if that like helps anyone out. So my couple that I always like say, like if you were just poly, like everything would have just been polyam. If you just identify this way and like set boundaries, like it would work out just fine. And that goes to Star, Marco, and I already forgot his name. Wow. Huh?
And the other guy.
Tom, yeah.
Yeah.
Tom.
I never saw that show, so I can't weigh in.
Neither have
That's a
I.
good show. That's another show that had like a 2-second thing of like there were a gay couple or two in the background and they got like
Hi, Kitty.
Wasn't
Applause.
Marco supposed to be transgender?
Who?
Wasn't Marco supposed to be transgender?
Uh,
Or is that
Not-
headcanon?
not as far as I know. That might be fanon unless it was stated like in an interview outside. But there's
I mean, he dresses as a girl, like Princess Marco.
he has a princess Sona.
Yeah, but he's never like uncomfortable with it. If anything, I think he really likes it. I mean, he wore a dress for like one of the climaxes for the seasons.
Oh, you'll love to see it.
But yeah, that is absolutely something that could have been solved with polyamory.
Cause okay, so I know you guys haven't watched it, but basically, Tom and Marco had a very buddy relationship, even when Tom was with Star. And part of the reason that Tom left Star is because like he saw that she loves Marco, But it also was hinted that she still likes Tom very much. Like, it might not be like as much love as she had for Marco, but it was still enough that she was still willing to keep like dating him and keep going through with the motions. And I just really feel like I was at the, actually, I'm pretty sure I say this every time I like rewatch Star Versus, but I'm like, hey, you just share, like, you know. I mean, I know obviously like in real life it's never going to be as easy as just share, but you know, like work things out, communicate. You could definitely make this work. But so I guess, why do you think it's challenging to write polyamory in media?
I don't think it's brought up as frequently as gay people are. Like, I feel like people are obviously pushing for more gay representation, transgender representation, but other identities are being left behind. Kind of like how when Rain was first introduced, people are like, oh my god, it's the first human non-binary character. Oh my god. And like, that's how much it has kind of been ignored. So I feel like it's difficult because people would immediately see it and just be like, why or what is that, because of the heteronormative society.
Yeah, I think like it's you know, for people who I guess are used to you know, like traditionalist kind of stuff, like which I would definitely put most, you know, like producers and stuff in that, you know, in that box. It's kind of like easier to kind of understand, like, you know, being like gay or something when it's viewed through the lens of like that kind of standard of monogamy, like you know, like these people feel, you know, true love for each other just like a straight couple would. But then when you take away that like monogamous standard, it's I feel like confusing.
It feels like, you know, like the producer's like sitting on a high chair and we have to like feed the producer like palatable content where it's like, all right, this is a story about Steve and his boyfriend John. And they're like, yeah. And they have a girlfriend named Carol. Whoa! What are you trying to feed me, man? Like, it's such a, it feels like we're trickling down these ideas and concepts that are just so wild and unimaginative, certainly. That it's just like,
you know, the writer's favorite conflict in the world is the love triangle, and you know, when you come up with just an easy way to solve that, they're like, no, where did my conflict go?
It's like polyamory is such a, it's really not. I mean, we've been saying it for like a few minutes where it's like, oh yeah, we could solve it with that, but it's really not a solution. It's just like, it's a concept. Like like when I say, like back to my example, like when I say Star, Tom, and Marco can be a triad, I know it's not. It wouldn't have been as simple as like 1, 2, 3. It's like, all right, both of us get Star, snap, and it's done. Like, obviously, I think a lot of people forget about this, but jealousy still exists in polyamory. Like, there is still that like moment where you need reassurance from your partner or partners because you don't all have to be dating each other. That moment hits where it's just like, hey, just checking in. I need to make sure, you know, you still want me to be a part of this. You still want me, period. And if a show could dance upon that, even if they were just to touch it very slightly, I'd be super happy about it. And one of my go-to recommendations for polyamory and manga is a manga I actually thought was garbage when I read it, but it turned out to actually touch upon this, was Girlfriend Girlfriend. Now, the world of anime and manga for polyamory is horrid because they keep dropping I was gonna say
Harems.
they keep dropping that H word that I hate. It's harems, which is it's always, the 13-year-old boy, and it's always like it's a redhead with humongous personality, and then like a tsundere blonde, and whatever else they decide to throw in the mix just to try to stand out. And that's what I thought Girlfriend was, but spoilers in the last like chapters of Girlfriend, when he's trying to date all four of them, they talk about the struggles with dating multiple people and saying like, hey, like, I'm willing to try and do this, but one of the problems that come with it is I don't know how much love you have for me, and I don't know if I'm ever going to be on equal grounds with everyone you're trying to date, or if I'm going to be below, girl A or girl B. And I was stunned because I was like, yeah, that this is one of the first like harem animes or mangas to actually like talk about this kind of thing. Granted, it's a very silly manga and anime. It's not meant to be taken seriously, but that was one of those moments where it kind of like I was like, okay, we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, I think like a big part of the like sort of love triangle trope is like it kind of hinges on like the idea that it's impossible to be in a relationship with both people. Like that's just part of the conflict, but like it is possible.
I feel like a lot of that is rooted in like this systemic idea of monogamy. Like people just don't think polyamory is necessarily an option. Or they certainly won't think like it's an option for them personally.
Yeah.
And a lot like I know in terms of writing, a lot of times when you write, you consciously or subconsciously project your own like beliefs into the writing. So it's like if you inherently don't believe polyamory is like an option, you're not going to start considering that as an option for your characters unless there is an outside force saying, hey, what about this thing?
Yeah, that's fair. It's really difficult to ask somebody to write something they genuinely do not understand or believe in. Like, I can't ask like Jax to come up with an original story where the main character is a conservative.
Yeah.
It just won't happen.
Like, I could do it just because of the people that I grew up around and I understand how they think, but it would come across through my writing that I do not condone or support it, and it would come off so extremist.
I could.
Yeah.
I could.
Yeah, it's like you have someone that could, but it would come off. They would not be subtle about their disapproval, and then you have someone who just flat out just won't. And I think that's exactly what happens in the writer's room. Is that you have those people where it's like, I could write this, but just warning you, it's not going to sound genuine.
Yeah.
All my family are liberals except my one aunt and uncle.
You need to get better. You need to get better at brainwashing them. You need to find the nearest 5G tower and crank it up.
Oh my god.
Not the 5G towers.
I do actually have a pretty funny story about them.
Go
ahead. So I only actually came out to my family as trans recently, like last year, even though I knew since I was like 19, just because I was still figuring it out myself, and then I'm just not like good at starting those kind of like serious conversations, so I just kind of put it off for a long time. But I finally did it, and oops, I might just fell. But a little bit before I came out, like maybe like I want to say like the previous year, maybe like a little less. One of my cousins came out as trans, and honestly, that like kind of helped like give me the push to actually come out myself because I'm not the first one. And so like she came out to the family earlier than I did, and we were at my other cousin's wedding, and my mom got in a conversation with my like conservative aunt, and the conversation kind of like went to my cousin who had come out, and my aunt was like, I'm just I'm so not used to like calling her by her like preferred name, or the right pronouns or whatever. Like it's just so hard to get used to. And then my mom was like, well, it's gonna get a little harder because my kid is trans too. And that's like how basically that's how the news was broken to those parts of the family. And she told me about it like a couple of minutes after it, and I was like, that's perfect, I love it so much.
That's awesome. Your mom basically did that part for you.
Yeah, I am so thankful. Yeah, I basically like given her like kind of a free pass to tell whoever.
Yeah, I just changed my name on Facebook and let my family connect the dots on their own for the most part.
Love it.
I am also not a very big, like, I'm not gonna come into a room and go, hello, family, I am gender fluid, these are my pronouns, this is my name.
And that is my cat.
And that is my cat who desperately needs to have the doors open. No, but it's like with my extended family, I was like, I have one aunt and uncle who started calling me by my preferred name immediately. At my older brother's wedding, a cousin, like, as we're in the pool with his kids, like, tossing one of those water footballs around with them, is just like, hey, what do you prefer, like, I call you, like, pronouns and things. And I was like, oh, Kyle.
Damn,
Yeah,
Kyle.
cool. We can have this conversation.
I love those names, Kyle.
Yeah. All right, we can have this conversation with your kids right here. That's fun. One of them is like an actual baby, like can't talk, can't understand us, and it's just like, hello.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like it's interesting. I don't think I've had any family yet be like, oh, it's so hard, it's so difficult. But I also don't think they're gonna say that to my face.
Yeah.
Plenty of them still like dead name.
Mhm.
Half of them I think it's because they don't really understand or get it, and the other half I'm like, I think you're just used to habits, and I don't see you often enough for me to care so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like a lot of my like family members, like even my parents sometimes do like, call me by my like original name, but like I'm okay with that. They're obviously like they're trying, and that's, all I can ask for. Like I don't particularly dislike my birth name that much, so it's kind of makes it easier.
You have this side of the Discord that has a loving, accepting family, and then you have this side of the Discord that will. I'm gonna say this, unless by some weird circumstance this video ever like gets seen by my family, but I will not be coming out to my family ever. It's just not happening.
Yeah, no.
It's sad because like you hear Leo and Jax's experience and you're just like, yeah, like that's how it should be. Well, Leo's is how it should be. Jax is more on the line of like, I think Jax is
Second
like
best
that
case scenario.
middle, yeah, second best case.
It could be a lot better, but like you're not disowning me, kicking me out of the house.
Yeah, we're
You're not the worst case scenario. It's tolerable. We can do this.
And that sucks because like for we think about that kind of thing and we're just like, huh, we would be the worst case scenario. Very much so. Or at least not even the worst case scenario, but it would definitely be
unfavorable.
Unfavorable to say the least.
Undesirable, perhaps.
But that's just kind of like, you know what it is? It's like going to work, you know, where it's like, oh yeah, I have to do this shit for a few hours, you know, be dead named and be gendered miscorrectly and be told a lot of outdated concepts and ideas and whatnot. And I'm gonna suffer through this for like 8 hours, and then I come back home and it's like, all right, cool. I'm back. I'm home.
I'm once
from
again
work.
me and gay.
Exactly. Which is, you know, it sucks, but I realized this when I threw my little like coming out / like gathering party, that I was just like, you know what? I may not get that experience with my family, but I will reliably have that experience with my friends and the people that I trust with who I actually am. And that matters more to me than to argue in Spanish about how I'm queer.
Yeah. We're your family. We're your good
Good
family.
family.
Yeah.
And a
Wait a
non-sweet
minute.
hole out my way.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, wait. Clarify. And also, I'm just gonna even if like somehow they found out I'm queer, I am no way explaining polyamory to my family.
Yeah.
Which is actually kind of shitty because like I remember growing up, like they would always make fun of me and be like, "How many girlfriends you have now? Like how many we planning on having?" And my mom in a very cringy manner would be like, "My son is gonna have 10 girlfriends in high school at the least." That's why they're gonna be working at Wendy's to make sure they got this guap for their 10 girlfriends.
Oh god.
Oh no.
And I'm just like, it was horrible growing up like that way because admittedly in middle school, high school, I was a little bit of a serial dater. Not in the sense that like I just kept seeking dates. I just kept accidentally being in relationships or ending up in them. It wasn't until I kind of grew until I was around like 18, 20 where I was kind of like, okay, I know what I actually want in a relationship and I'm going to wait before like asking anyone to proceed to that step.
I totally feel you. Like I'm kind of similar in that like I've never like actively pursued a relationship. All of my relationships I've ended up just stumbling into. Except I have had far fewer.
Yeah. Yeah, no, to summarize it, it was just like, oh, we're talking a lot. And you're kind of like giving me those eyes as saying like, yeah, we're a thing. So I'm just like, okay. I'm also like with people for strictly personality reasons, which a lot of people have kind of like gotten me on about because unfortunately I had that controversial past where I did call a partner of mine ugly. Because they asked me, they were like, "Do you think I'm pretty?" And I was like, "No, not particularly, but we get along so well." And they were like, "What?" And that was when I told that story at a party, I got a lot of mixed reactions. I had laughter, uncomfortable laughter, and like anger. And one of them was just like, "Why are you with someone if you're not physically attracted to them?" And I said, "Well, because that's not my grounds for dating. My grounds for dating isn't like, oh yeah, you look incredible. My grounds is completely like, could I enjoy my time with you genuinely? Because there's more to people than just like, you know,
Yeah,
appearances and whatnot."
totally.
Okay, we are approaching the end, so I'm going to ask one last question. And this might get sad depending on where y'all decide to take it, but where do you see queerness going within the next few years?
Can I give a funny answer
You can
before
give a funny
people
answer,
makes
yeah.
it sad? Once
Okay,
the
well,
once the oldest generations die, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
I've been
Honestly,
saying that
I agree.
unironically for years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, because like everyone with like brain cells that aren't from the coal mines, they're like they either don't care or they're accepting.
Yeah, right. Like,
But the people who had like lead paint on their walls, they're the ones that are like, I think there's something wrong with this here. These gay people. I'm like, of
Yeah.
course you do. You don't have enough brain cells to think beyond straight people. They were killed off with the lead.
yeah, I honestly like. I do like see things only getting better like in the future, because like if you're as like online as I personally am, a lot of the time it seems really like bleak and like kind of depressing. But then like when you actually like log off Twitter or whatever and like see what it's like in the real world, it's honestly like fine. It's like I go outside and see like rainbow flags on people's houses in the neighborhood, and like although like churches around have like like signs out front saying we accept everyone with like pride flags and stuff, and I like openly have like a trans pin on my bag that I carry everywhere, and nobody notices or cares, and like that's just the way I like it.
Or someone does, and they're immediately cool about it. They're just like, "Hey, I like your
Right?
pin," or they say
Yeah,
something like that.
exactly. Yeah, like I think most of the, I mean, at least like I think a lot of that is in part like because of where we live. It's generally a blue state. Definitely wouldn't be like that other places, but I think that the the seeming like uprise in like intolerance and bigotry toward queer people, I think it's really just like the last like dying breath of this like super like heteronormative um thing, just like trying to grasp onto life, and I think it is going to die, and we will be better for it.
One of the things that I saw, at first when it was happening, I didn't know if it was a joke or not. But then afterwards, when I saw it wasn't a joke, I was when it was happening, I was like, okay, this is kind of shit and kind of bad. But then the aftermath, like when it finally wore off, I was kind of like, huh, that whole super straight movement. At first, it seemed like it might have been an issue, but then I realized I was like, you know what? This is actually just a really sad, large joke.
Yeah, right. Like
Yeah.
Like some really weird offset attempt to try to come at us, I guess, and try to be like assertive, like we are here, and it's like, okay,
yeah. Now
no
it's
one's
like,
oppressing you.
it's like every time I like see stuff like that online, I kind of now just like try my best to just not take it seriously. Like, oh, okay, all right, go run along, little guy. Just have your tantrum. It's fine. Just like work it all out, then take your nap. And I think the I think every like subsequent generation has been like more progressive about this shit than the last. So nowhere to go but up.
True. You don't really have any babies coming out and calling you the F slur. Like it's just
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like those are learned behaviors that you like pick up from like your parents, and you either like drop that as you grow up or you keep it. And I think and more and more people have been dropping that, and so then not teaching that to their kids. And that, I think, we're going to get way more generations just learning that these things are normal.
To add on
Alrighty.
to I was gonna add something. Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
So this kind of relates to what we were talking about before with like our families and accepting.
Mhm.
And I have attempted to explain to my mother current issues through, I don't know, some silly dream that maybe she'll understand something. And one of the things that she always asks is like, how do you plan to explain this to like the babies? How are you going to explain this to the toddler? And I always say like, they learn things way better than you do because they are absorbing everything. They will understand it in 5 minutes.
Yeah, like I can actually like tell you for certain how to explain it to a little child, because that's basically what my mom did. Like instead of like sitting me down, giving me the birds and the bees talk or whatever, she gave me this book about like for like little kids about like puberty and sex ed and stuff, and it had a little section on like homosexuality, saying some people like the same gender, and that's cool. And so I was like, just from that young age, I was like, yeah, that's cool. And so
Also,
it's so easy that like kids will understand it.
I was gonna say, like, also, kids don't really question, question you if you tell them something is certain. Like, I could tell them that like a TV is called like a cookie, and they'll just call it a cookie ever like for forever, basically.
Until
Yeah.
someone corrects them.
Like, we are feeding the information to them. So if they grow up hateful, it's because either we
they
made them
learned
hateful or their environment did.
Yeah.
And it's our responsibility to take, well, I say our as if the majority of us are going to have kids, but it would be our responsibility to get them out of hazardous environments, because that's what your parents supposed to do anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, like I am constantly so thankful for like how lucky I got with my parents. Like, they're fucking cool.
All right. Well, we're going to close out on this note since it was a positive note to end on.
Yeah.
Yay!
We've done it. Part 1 is done. And I want to thank you all for being here.